Hi everybody, thanks for checking out my channel. So if you would like, if you're on YouTube, if you could subscribe to my channel, that'd be great. Or in the description, you could check out my new website or type it in on the internet, becomingnobody.org. So today I actually wanted to give 5 book recommendations. And so the first book recommendation that I wanted to go through, I don't have a copy of this one. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's a book by Viktor Frankl, who was a psychologist, a psychiatrist, psychologist type person. He was a Jewish. He was in the Nazi concentration camps. He actually stayed. He had a visa to go to the U.S. to continue his work before, when the Jews were starting to get taken. I think he was in Austria or something, and he didn't want to abandon his parents. And so this was a very tough choice because him, his wife, and kid could have left. I think it was pregnant wife. And I don't know if they had a born child. And they stayed because he didn't want to abandon his parents. And her and his parents all got killed in the concentration camps. So that had to be tough on him. And he did get taken too. And he went through life in the concentration camps. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And he makes emphasis that he's not totally focusing on that, because there's lots of other books written about the atrocities in there. But he focuses on it from a spiritual perspective. And it's a very, very beautiful spiritual book. And he doesn't use those terms, but showing what they went through in there and how, the people that couldn't handle it, the people that's egos were destroyed, the people that surrendered and found bliss, the whole process. And so he comes out of it and he starts this thing called logotherapy. That's what he calls his therapeutic method. And it's really a spiritual practice, a spiritual method. And it's a very, very beautiful book by a beautiful man, and it helped me so much, and it really helps you too, because not only is the spirituality aspect of it fantastic and psychological, but also he takes you through the suffering of humans, the great suffering, and that really opens up another dimension in your heart, being able to acknowledge that and open up to it and understand it. It makes a big difference rather than hiding from it or shunning it away, because if I want to be a full person, I need to embrace all the aspects of the world, not push any of them away or pretend they don't happen. So that's book number 1. Book number 2, it's called Adventures Beyond the Body, and it is how to experience out-of-body travel. I haven't read this one in a couple years, and what I want to focus on here, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And of course, I'll just say this right now, out-of-body travel, astral travel is completely possible. There's lots of beings that can do it, although it's difficult, and I don't think I have ever done it. But my point about this book, and there is methods in the back of it if you want to practice getting out-of-body experiences and everything, there is methods that you can follow in here. Now, a cautionary tale is, generally it's understood in spiritual communities, etc., seekers of God, that you don't want to place too much emphasis on those kinds of things. Because yeah, sure, that's cool, that's far out, you can get out of your body, astral project. It's not really going to change your being too much, except that having had that experience, you won't be so attached to this plane of reality, because you know that there's more, so if you lack faith, those experiences could benefit you. And that's actually why I put this book on here. So, and I'll have the links to all these books in the description on Amazon, and you can find them many other places. Amazon's just efficient. So this book's by William Ballman, and it's called Adventures Beyond the Body. And so the main point is that if you read this, it could open up your mind to get rid of some of your doubt and cynicism. So opening up to your mind that there's more than you think there is, and it's different than the way you think it all is. And there's different planes of consciousness and planes of reality. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work on astral projecting, although you might. But it's can be used to open up your mind as an interesting read to change the way you think about things and the interrelation between planes of reality. Next book. This is one of my favorite books that I've ever came across. It's translated by Coleman Barks. It's Rumi. Many people probably have heard of Rumi. There's always Rumi quotes on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. A lot on Instagram. Rumi was a Sufi poet that was he lived in the Middle East. I forgot which country he was in, but Jalaluddin Rumi. He was a beautiful mystical poet, and this book is huge. It has hundreds of his poems, and they can be used as spiritual practice. This book in itself is a great method of practice, and so he takes you pretty much through really everything you could think of. And I'm going to read just one little part of one of his poems, and they all vary so greatly, but this is, out of all the books in here, I probably place the most emphasis on this one, because this is just a beautiful, beautiful book. And Coleman Barks does have other books with translations of Rumi as well. So this is just a part of one of his poems. You didn't hear him, then he must be inside me yelling, over here, come over here. Don't think of him as a seeker, though. Whatever he's looking for, he's that himself. How can a lover be anything but the beloved? Every second he's bowing into a mirror. If he could see for just a second one molecule of what's there without fantasizing about it, he'd explode. His imagination and he himself would vanish, with all his knowledge obliterated into a new birth, a perfectly clear view. A voice that says, I am God. That same voice told the angels to bow to Adam, because they were identical with Adam. It's the voice that first said, there is no reality but God. There is only God. So, and then I'll just skip down a little at the end of the poem, one last line. It says, we are listeners as well as speakers of this mystery, both of us. But who else will join this strange companionship? And like I said, if you're going to not pay attention to anything I'm saying here and just get nothing out of this, you should still get this Rumi book if you're going to get any of it. And then next, another great Sufi mystic. So Sufis, Rumi and Hafiz were Sufis categorized as, which is, they were Islamic. They were Muslim. And Sufis was like a mystical sect of Islam. So it's basically like, in Christianity, they were called the Gnostics. So that's what the Sufis were, and that's what they are. So Hafiz, it says on here, poems by Hafiz, the great Sufi master. And this man named Daniel Ladinsky, he has multiple books. I mean, he basically dedicated his life's work to putting Hafiz's poems into this beautiful, eloquent writing. Some people question his translations a little bit because he didn't take the translations out of, he didn't translate them. He took them out of other texts, and he's a mystic in himself, so he has a very close, intimate relationship with Hafiz, and he feels that Hafiz mystically directs the writings to how he would have them look today and be. And Hafiz, Rumi's a little funny too, but Hafiz has a lot of comedy in his poems too. They're beautiful. They both call God the friend or the beloved, and so they really run a lot of devotional path about love and union with God. And so I just want to read one Hafiz poem. I have learned so much. I have learned so much from God that I can no longer call myself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or a Jew. The truth has shared so much of itself with me that I can no longer call myself a man, a woman, an angel, or even a pure soul. Love has befriended Hafiz so completely it has turned to ash and freed me of every concept and image my mind has ever known. So Hafiz has really helped me a lot. He's beautiful. And his other poem on the other page called God Just Came Near, it says, no one in need of love can sit with my verse for an hour and then walk away without carrying golden tools and feeling that God just came near. And that's true. I don't care who you are. You probably would have a real difficult time of reading Hafiz for an hour and remaining in a cynical, unhappy state of mind, because I mean, he's just a beautiful being. I mean, a little bit of his story, what he did was he had a master for a long, long time, and he would serve his master forever, and he never got enlightened, and he started getting discouraged sometimes, and then finally, like, the seed broke open, and later on in his life. And so Hafiz had a couple of, when he was young, he really wanted a woman, the story goes. So he took a 40-day vigil outside of this saint's tomb. He didn't eat, supposedly didn't sleep. He just sat outside this tomb, hoping that his wish would be granted to get this woman. And then the archangel, I think Michael or Gabriel, appeared to him at the end of the 40 days. Because you have to remember, Islam and Christianity are very closely interrelated, even though they don't think so. The archangels are the ones that brought the message originally to Muhammad, and they really have the same conception of God. And so he came to him and he was like, what do you want? What do you want? You sat in vigil outside this tomb for 40 days. And after having seen that, and Hafiz saying, wow, this is what one of God's angels is like, how much more God himself? And then he said, I just want to know God. He didn't care about the woman anymore. And then at the end of his life, closer to the end, when he was fed up with not being able to get enlightened, the same thing happened. He went inside. I think he drew a circle and he sat inside of it for 40 days. And he didn't leave to eat or sleep or go to the bathroom or anything. And that was when he attained enlightenment and started writing these poems. And he wrote thousands, but they think only like 500 genuine ones survived because of, the controversial nature of the things these people say in strict Christian or strict Islamic communities, telling people they're God and all this. They get a lot of blowback. They sometimes get in prison, sometimes get killed, their works get destroyed. So a lot of Hafiz's works are gone now, which is sad because they're so beautiful, but it's amazing that we have what we have. And then the last one is Kabir, who also was a poet, and Kabir was kind of Muslim and Hindu. And like I said, that's just where people categorize them as. Like you've seen in the Rumi poem, he talks about Adam in the Bible. Hafiz says, I'm not Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Sufi, or Zen, because they know the truth. So they don't identify with any one religion or cultural system. But the Muslims and the Hindus fought at Kabir's funeral between if he should get buried in a Muslim way, or I think the Hindus cremate their people. So they fought and argued and this and that. And their legend goes that then when they opened up his casket or whatever he was in, there was just roses there, because they're trying to teach him that those distinctions didn't really matter. So Kabir too was representing love as well. So these three are all poetry books, and this Kabir book is called Songs of Kabir by Rabindranath Tagore, who also wrote his own poetry in his own right. He's also a mystical poet, but I've never read him. So Songs of Kabir, and I just wanted to read one here. It says, hang up the swing of love today. Hang the body and the mind between the arms of the beloved in the ecstasy of love's joy. Bring the tearful streams of the rainy clouds to your eyes and cover your heart with the shadow of darkness. Bring your face nearer to his ear and speak of the deepest longings of your heart. Kabir says, listen to me, brother. Bring the vision of the beloved of God into your heart. And Kabir, it's a really beautiful book as well. All three of those poetry books are in the other two. So, I know that's a lot to look at and think about, but I would really suggest, checking some of those out, rather than just listening to this and be like, all right, that was cool, but really checking some of those out if you can. And if you have any questions about it, you could always email me in the description if you're having trouble finding one or something like that.